It was February 6th when my life totally changed. I've been having this horrible headache for the last couple of months, but I'm not a sickly person, so I started self-medicating and doing things to relieve myself of the pain. During the day, I could take 10 minutes off 4 times a day to just lie down, and the headache went away. This is in November, starting November last year. From January this year, the headaches became unbearable. Even lying down didn't take it away. The last 2 weeks before I was admitted, the headaches had become so bad that for me to feel better, I had to throw up. But what scared me most, apart from having the excruciating headaches, I started losing balance. And for me to be able to walk, I had to wall walk. I had to be next to a wall. The last 2 days before my admission, I started losing sight. Why did I not go to the doctor in the beginning when all this happened? And this is one thing that happens with most of us men. There's a very fine line between bravery and stupidity. The 2 weeks prior to my admission, I knew something was wrong, and I was too afraid to go to a doctor and confirm that something was wrong. Tuskin booked for a scan for me on Friday, but because I had a very big workshop on Saturday, I decided to cancel because I knew if I go in, they're going to detain me. Cancelled on Friday, came in, did my workshop on Saturday, and I immediately collapsed after that, even though the people that are in the room didn't notice. On Sunday, my headache was bad, horribly bad, and I decided to drive into the emergency ward at Sunningham. The first thing my doctor told me after I told him what had happened and the symptoms of what I was going through, they suggested that I must have a CT scan, which I gladly did. The result showed me that there was nothing. And I said, you know what, maybe I'm just tired, I need to take some time off. On my way to the ward to go and put on my shoes, the doctor followed me and he said, there's such a big grayness on your brain that I can't really tell. And I recommend that immediately we need to do a MRI scan. I gladly did, still having excruciating pain, because all I told him is what I need is some painkillers. Going into the MRI scan was a horrible experience for me because my head was pounding and the MRI scan keep on like a woodpecker for the entire period. For those 20 minutes when I came out, the doctor came to me and straight away told me that you need to be admitted to the ICU. My question was, why? I drove here and the only thing I need, just give me something to take the headache away. He showed me the CT scan and he was very blunt and very open, and he told me, I've never seen such a massive brain hemorrhage. You're raining blood in your brain. This kind of accidents always only happen to boxers, MMA fighters, rugby players, but in most cases it only happens on one side of the head. But unfortunately yours, you are bleeding the entire head. And for reference, he referred me to the movie Concussion to show me how bad that was. This was too much for me to take in one go. So I asked him what the next steps are. And he said the next step, we have to do an op. But unfortunately, it's a very risky op. You have a 5% survival rate. Chances are because of the op, you will have a heart attack, you will end up having a stroke, and you're gonna have to learn to live with fits. In my head, I started thinking, this guy can't be talking about me. You know, I train well, I train very hard, I eat clean, I try to do good, live by my hearts, to please my heart, which means I'd go no out there to harm anyone. I try to be as nice as possible, to try and be positive as possible. It can't be happening to me. So I looked him straight in the eye and I said, Doc, as much as I value your diagnosis, I don't agree with it, because what you're saying does not go with the kind of person that I am. If you don't mind, can I get a second opinion? Which he gladly granted me. And I called one of my friends, somebody that I trust, that is a surgeon. He drove to the Sunning Hill Hospital. He came and he looked at the MRI scan. He consulted with the brain surgeon, and he looked at me and he said, unfortunately, everything that he says, I agree with it. Now, at that point, I'm thinking, this guy has just taken my physical personality away. He's taken my identity, what I'm known for and what I've built all over these years. So I asked him, okay, Doc, I concur with what the two of you are saying, but you've given me so much information. All I need is one day to decide. Do you mind if I go home? He looked me straight in the eye again and he said, if you go home, you're not going to make it. Because your brain is so swollen and the blood is so much. There are two things that are going to happen. Your brain as an organ does not feel pain. But for it to be able to cope with the kind of stress and pressure it's under, one is going to literally, physically explode, or two, you're going to have fits. In my process of trying to counter and tell him that I need more time, guess what happened? I got my first fit in that hospital. Fit is a horrible thing. I've never felt such a horror in my life. It was a case of me sitting there, seeing something take over my body, causing it pain. And a part of the inner me was sitting here, looking at everybody that I care for and everybody that loves me crying. And the nurses and the doctors trying to resuscitate me, to bring me back. And at that point, when I came back, I looked at the doctor and I told him, okay, I agree with you. If you want to take my head and cut it open, go ahead. I don't fight it. While I'm in the process, 5 minutes later, I get another fit. Now, why did this happen? Who knows? As a man, I think I took too long to do what is necessary. I can't just rely on my physical strength for me to go through the soft battles of life. After that preparation, and I started panicking, I asked the doctor just one thing. Can I call all the sisters, the nurses around here, so that I can pray with them? Now, because I was terrified. All I thought are the bad things, me being in a wheelchair, being on a life support machine. All the nurses, 25 of them, came and surrounded my bed and we prayed. And at that point, I felt calm. But when I got the second fit, one thing happened. It was a blessing and a curse, because I saw my entire life in 1 minute. And in that 1 minute, it wasn't in black and white. It was entirely in 8 HD. I saw myself at the height of my life, and I saw also the end. In both incidences, it was as clear as day and night. All I had to do is the choices I make at the top here will determine if my end is going to be bitter or is going to be better. And at that point, I decided I want a better aim. And to do that, I had to decide that this baggage I'm carrying there, this rucksack of life, the things that I've characterized, the personality that I've adopted, the people that are in my life, I had to decide who stays in it and who gets out so that I can have a better life in my old age. My young days, my youth, I've always been called Big Steve. I've been identified with raw sheer power, strength through exercise. but I don't want my old age to be identified with my white hair. So I've had to make some decisions. This has been the most defining part of my life. I might look the same to you, but I'm not the same person, because this experience has scarred me for life. And it hasn't scarred me in a bad way. It has scarred me in a good way. I more or less know what my priorities are. I know what I need to do in terms of me going forward. I know what kind of a future I want, and I know what price tag comes with it. So as you sitting there, I beseech you, sisters and brothers, that life is short. Life is short, and life is beautiful. Just because something bad has happened, it does not mean that you have to start pointing fingers at life and accusing it. Bad things happen to good people, and good things happen to bad people. So as we tag along, as I keep you in my life, and hopefully you keep me in yours, as we walk down this journey of life, our destination is not the most important part. It's the relationships, the people, and the influence, the impact that we create in the people in our lives that is going to count in the end. Because in that flash, I did not think about my office, my business, my car, or anything I've ever owned. All I saw is the relationships that I've created and the impact that I've created or had on the people in my lives. I hope we learn from this experience and we stop taking life for granted. Always remember, I love you, and stay blessed.